Why, hello there. I didn't see you come in. I'm Tim Mosso, and welcome to Watch Us Tonight. This is the 1916 Company. So this week, 5 things I hate about watch collectors. That includes you and me. We chat live, and I share your viewerist chats tonight on Watch Us Tonight. We've got Ethan on the switcher tonight with Garrett. So this is an instructional evening. Please be patient and supportive. We have a Want to Watch, Jim Millett of the UK, Sean Hansen. We've got 911 Euro from Winter Park, Florida. Jim, by the way, coming off a Talking Time with Tim Mosso UK branch meetup. We got John Aldridge. We got Junior Johnson from Michigan, microbiologist from New York, Cull Obsidian, stand up late in London, Edward Ledden of Sweden. We got Laurel. We got Brian. We got Ordinary 999 from Norway, Stephen Robinson from Liverpool, Jeff S. from South Florida. We got Slow Boy Fuel Pump from Knoxville, Tennessee. All right, guys, while we are warming up, do me a favor, check out Tim_Mosso on Instagram. It is a watch-intensive review site, but in 60-minute snippets. So you can daisy chain my 60-second, did I say 60-minute? 60-second reviews for hours at a time. There are literally over 2,000 of them, plus some insights into the world of Tim Mosso, including watches, cars, and Squash, the dog. So, I got stuff no one else in the watch world can match. Check it out at Tim_Mosso. Also, if you want to meet with me, guess what? That's on the calendar too. Southern California, down in Newport Beach. This Friday and Saturday, the 26th and the 27th, I'm going to be at our former Hyde Park location, which is now the 1916 Company, at Fashion Island. I know. That's what it's called. That's where it is in Newport Beach. We are doing our annual watch fair, which means not just me, but a full range of brands we carry with personnel from the brands to answer your question, and special pieces that we only bring out for the watch fairs. It's interactive, but you got to be there or you'll be square. So check out the 1916company.com. Scroll down till you see watch fair, click, and I'll see you there. All right. We got Danny K joining in from Lucerne in Switzerland, Grandmaster Chime from Japantown, San Francisco. We got Cull Obsidian saying, loved that Debatoon vid, by the way, Tim. I did a Debatoon rarities video over on the review channel. Check it out. A lot of those watches are literally unique. And we got Steve S joining in from his vacation in Croatia. Thank you for joining me from your Croatian vacation. I never imagined you'd take the time out from your break. And then we got Brian Scott from the UK. Okay, welcome, guys. Good to see all of you in the box, along with Dr. B and Mr. Donut. Viewerist chats number 1, I asked who answered. Phil C. of New Jersey posts a blockbuster group shot that, frankly, could be the mic drop for the entire night. That's tough to beat. We got Bennett Y, who impresses with his MB&F Legacy Machine Sequential Evo. We got Ruben S. and his Patek 5905 exploring New York City at summer's end. New York City with that kind of sun and that kind of water, it feels awful like Miami, doesn't it? I would love to know where that is in New York City. Alex P. rolls with his Oris, a 1967 Pontiac Le Mans, a man after my own heart. JJ and his Rolex Day-Date sample the goods in the bourbon room. Guys, send your wrist chats to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com or at thewatchbox.com if you prefer the vintage email. All right, we got Furyan Survivor in the box from Sydney, Australia. We got Stevie Wonder, a hop, skip, and a jump away in Glen Mills. And then we got Miroslav joining in from Europe, and Jeffrey T. from Gladwine, another local boy. Okay, 5 things I hate about watch collectors. Now, guys, let's be clear, this is a positive message. So while it is clickbait, it should be uplifting. And at the same time, I'm not here to slam anyone who's enjoying watches in good faith. Understand that what you're about to hear is either parody, criticism of mead people, or some combination of both. It shouldn't surprise you to learn that I generally like watch collectors, so if I hate the act, not the actor, mostly. All right. Guys, I really hate it when people wear watches, sometimes more than one, with multiple metal and ceramic bracelets. Oh my God, does this burn my buttons. Now, Lewis Hamilton did it as a joke to protest the FIA jewelry ban, which seemed to be targeted at a population of 1 within the sport. But I'm talking about guys who do it in earnest. First of all, guys, why all of the bracelets? When did this become a thing? Is every day now Mardi Gras? What about all the beads? I don't have any answers here, and I'm perplexed. Normally, you'd think I'm an expert in things that guys wear on their wrists, whereas this leaves me completely clueless. So if you're in the chat box and this is a thing for you, please illuminate the phenomenon for me, because I am in the dark. Second, many of the bracelets are metal, and they're grinding against the watch every waking minute. And that's difficult for me to bear. Marks of wear on your watch can be a sign of enjoying them frequently and fearlessly, but sharing wrist real estate with a cheese grater of a bracelet, to me at least, feels like abusive and careless. It boils my blood to see it, and that's just being frank. In fact, it does more than boil my blood because, and I'm not naming names here, a coworker's multiplicity of katana-like bracelets once caused me, and avert your eyes if you're squeamish, some serious blood loss and deep wounds during a routine handshake. So, dude, there's an artery under your meat slicer of a bracelet. If that did so much damage to my fingers that I needed bandages, you might want to bag some serious blood in advance, because frankly, you're gonna need it. All right, if your watch winds up half as gouged as my hand did from this encounter, there's a great reason not to wear it on the same wrist as one or more bracelets. Let's see what you guys are saying in the box. Eric Nielsen, many of my patients are non-vets, 0 bracelets here. And maybe some dog tags, but 0 bracelets. What else is going on here? We got another comment from Cull Obsidian. I'm going to leave that between you and your conscience. What else is going on? Nick Marin checking in from sunny Sarasota, Florida. Good to see some of my old friends from down south on the East Coast. And then we got Norm M. 5 things I hate about watch collectors. Make that 6. Limited self-awareness. Ah, yes, but this is a self-aware episode, and we are eating our own tonight. What else is going on? Rohan's joining in from Dallas, and we're glad to have him, along with Vincent, saying, make a 1916 company event in Geneva for the next Watches and Wonders. Would give just about anything to attend. Well, we'll probably do a Debatoon event. We did last year. I was at that. So watch their social media, and you'll probably get a chance to meet me and party with me and Denny Flageolet, who at any occasion where we both show up is easily the draw, not me. What else is happening here? Jim Millett saying, loving your DBD, Tim, and I certainly appreciate that. We got Pacific Turtle joining in from Brisbane, and Mr. Donut, what about if the watch has a leather strap? Does that change your view? I'm not sure how that mitigates the impact of many bracelets on fashion or function, but I have no problem with a watch that has a leather strap, and I have no problem with a watch that has a bracelet. It's the bracelet that doesn't have a watch that leaves me puzzled. Brian Scott, I'm with you, Tim. I hate to see bracelets grinding against a lovely watch, especially when it's gold or platinum, right? Oh my gosh. And then we got a comment about Jeremy Clarkson did it, and I wear them because they add presence. Only rope or leather against the watch. Okay, I can see that. We have MCC La Chinois joining in, a longtime supporter, and Asa, who's in the box. Good day. Okay, watches worn with full factory stickers, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. We've all seen this. Hopefully, we haven't personally been there. Let's just be clear about this. Wearing a watch covered in protective shipping stickers is embarrassing. Do not be that guy. And I have a great example of this coming up, and the lengths to which I went to save that guy embarrassment. Those stickers, which are intended only for preserving the watch in transit to the store, should not be on your wrist at any time. Nobody needs to see stickers on your watch to know how new it is. That's ball cap fashion. If you've seen the guy who bought a $50 hat at the New York Yankee team store with the hologram still stuck to the brim, a flat brim unbent, and a hang tag dangling from that unbent brim, that's ball cap fashion. Do not mix it with wristwatch fashion. You see, that's cool, but on your Patek Philippe, not so much. On your Rolex, even less. It causes me flashbacks to Grandma's 1970s vintage plastic-covered sofas in Levittown during the early 1990s. It was gross then, it felt even worse, and the look is worse on your wrist than in her living room, rest assured, although I'm sure Grandma would approve. And it seems you agree with me. I once had to aggressively edit a collector conversation, one of my interviews, to save the guest from himself when I realized that most of his watches shot by my crew for the interview included case, bezel and case back stickers still on the watch. I knew exactly what the comments below the video were going to say if a collection of taped mummified watches rolled past the camera for 30 minutes, and it was going to be absolutely relentless and remorseless. So a lot of editing spared him some grief, and even then there was a little bit. But wait, there's more. You may be shocked to learn that stickers are sticky. In fact, I know we learn something new every day. It's a humbling experience. And there's often more hair on these stickers if you keep them on long term than poison in 1989. That's a lot of hair, but many of these stickers, they've got more. And while we love Brett, CC, and the gang, your watch shouldn't resemble the aftermath of bathing the dog in the tub, if you know what I mean. Do not be that guy with a watch that's still packed in stickers and caked with crud. It's not luxury, it's gross. Honestly, the only thing worse is buying the watch and flat out never wearing it. Okay, jumping in the box. Norm M, there are companies that actually sell pre-cut per model plastic covering for watches. I've seen those, and those are weird. What else is going on here? Jim Millett saying that sofa photo, brilliant. I did a little bit of editing there, brought in Grandma, she would have approved. We have Sherryar joining in saying, I'm hoping for a great job offer in Philly soon, or at the boutiques often. Huge fan, hope to run into you someday. I'm not at the outlying boutiques in Walnut and Ardmore often, though I can make the trip. But I'm always here at Bala, and I'm just a phone call away if you want to visit. I'm out in the suburbs. What else is happening here? Watch addict Tim. The G, what's poppin', the coolest cat in watch media. I don't know about that, but I might be the most ironic. What else is going on? This never gets old. What else is happening here? We got Scott B. Don't need nothing but a good time. Someone heard that album. Big Poison fan here. Although more of a fan of CC than Brett, and that's usually not the case with most Poison fans. Watch Mike saying, no safe queens, and Abdul from Germany joining in. We got Faisal joining in from Hertfordshire, and we're glad to have him. All right, moving on. Wrist shots, number 2, I asked, you answered. Now here it is. Nicholas L. impresses with his new Rolex GMT Master 2. Wear it in good health. It seems just the other day we were talking about this watch, and now it's a reality. Well done, my man. Paul S. of Ontario collects his Pepsi with Pepsi out on the range. Ben H. rolls with the Zenith Chronomaster Sport and VW Golf R based on the Generation 8 Golf. Looking good. You know I love my watches and wheels. And in this case, ink too. Kyle A. posts a his and hers from the mosh pit at a Corn and Gojira double bill. You are both men and women after my heart. And Andrew D. in his 1916 bought Oris Aquis depth gauge dive off of Madeira, Portugal. Thank you for trusting our company, and great action shot of a watch as it was meant to be. Send your wrist shots to MondayMailbag at the1916company.com to see your passion in this fashion. We got Kevin C. Hey Tim, off topic, but do you believe Rolex will ever make a platinum Submariner with that ice blue dial similar to the Daytona? Yes. The only question is, on what occasion? I thought the last big anniversary of the sub, the 70th, was probably going to be the one where we would see some sort of a platinum Submariner. Now I'm not sure, and Rolex might hold its fire until the 80th anniversary. They're under no pressure to sell more Submariners, and a platinum model would be something very, very special. I believe they will reserve that for a very, very special occasion, and maybe not even an obvious one. We all think 5-year and 10-year anniversaries. It might be something none of us are thinking about, something very special. It might even be that they do some sort of a helium escape valve Submariner in tribute to the old Comex subs that had both Submariner branding and a helium escape valve without being a sea dweller. Think about that. That could happen. And it might even be a no date as a result. What else is happening in the box? We got David M. finally watching live. Hey guys, good to have you, David. We have Felton joining in. I found an original 1931 JLC Reverso red dial. Do you think it's worth $30,000? Only if it is impeccably authenticated, because that is a ton of money for an early Reverso. They are generally not worth that much. So I would say it's probably worth 100% more than it would be worth if it were not a red dial. reverso from that period. So make sure it's got some sort of a pedigree. I would say send out for some sort of an extract from the archives from JLC and condition the sale upon the receipt of that extract. What else is going on? What else is going on? Abdul, the thing I hate most about watch collectors is keeping a watch in its stickers and box and never wearing it somewhere. I agree about that. We got Steve 1010 and Eric R. Turnaround time on the Duomet sent to JLC. Mine was out for about 6 months, but that was, 10 years ago, so I'm not really sure. 5 things I hate about watch collectors. We're back to the main topic. Here's a big one. If you remember only one thought from tonight's show, it is this. I hate when watch collectors trash other people's fun. You should not be slagging down anyone when none of us, not you, not me, not anyone, needs a luxury watch. There is no wrong answer. Every answer is the right answer if you're happy. Allow me to elaborate. Opinions are fine, and sometimes we will not agree. That's okay too, as long as it's done with respect. For example, my opinion is that people shouldn't get too deep into micro brands. For example, that's just because I think it quickly adds up to real luxury watch money once you're thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in, and often for watches that have a service life sunset. That is, they're not projectable in terms of parts and repair support down the line. And that's a lot of money to spend on something that might be a consumable good. But that's just my opinion. Others will collect micro brands. They'll go to wind up. They'll have lots of fun talking about these things in person and on forums. And that's not for me, but that's also fine. So I don't want people to misunderstand. I'm not talking about that sort of thing. No, I'm talking about real smack, malice, and judgment, directed at people as though one form of absurd discretionary spending is more legitimate than the other. And it tends to be extremely brand specific too, and you've probably noticed this dynamic online. Often we hear cranks on forums or chat boards or social media dismissing Hublot or Panerai or Bell & Ross or IWC. And while not everyone thinks these are purists' pieces, I think that those sour voices are missing the bigger picture here. If you're at a place in life where collecting watches is possible for you, it is financially viable without compromising any other facet of your existence in any way, then you have risen above the vast majority of humanity that is just trying to get by. And that's where most of us are in this world. So at that point, first world problems, right? I mean, that's as bad as it gets when you're riding in a Rolls Royce. And look, he lent him a helping hand, so problem solved. You should lend your fellow watch collectors a helping hand rather than kicking them down, lift them up. Collecting watches is a ton of fun, and it should be that way universally. But it's not such serious business that one person should excoriate another for making a different choice about how to spend his extremely discretionary funds. There are solid reasons why a Patek Philippe at Patek prices is more thoroughly decorated and detailed and maybe more thoroughly engineered than, say, an average Panerai Luminor. And that's just a fact that's a function of price and the time it takes to make one. But that does not make the Patek any more watch or any more necessary than a Panerai. They do different things and they appeal to people for different reasons, and neither one is this. And it's farcical to pretend otherwise, because let's just agree, and I think it's hard to dispute, this clown may be more upscale and cultivated than that clown, but they are both ultimately clowns. Somehow, taking ourselves too seriously appears to be at the root of taking watches too seriously. Well, maybe that's the exception. That was pretty serious. But for everyone else, here's my public service announcement. All luxuries being equally unnecessary, let's be equally unserious about judging each other. We will have a lot more fun, and I promise you that is on both the giving and the receiving end of criticism. Extend that hand to lift your fellow watch collector up, not to submerge him. And we are all, in that regard, buying these watches, people in glass houses. And yes, I'm a big fan of Mies van der Rohe. Farnsworth House. Look it up. All right, in the box, we got Andrew joining in from Guernsey. We got Norm M. We got Fred S. from New Mexico. We got Sap7 saying micro brands are fun money, not safe bets. That's fair. Trap Vision 3D. Afternoon, Tim and chat. We're glad to have you, my man. Stephen E. Hello from Detroit, the Motor City. You know how much I love my American cars. Michael Allen in the box. And failed to wrist shot from an NIN concert in Brooklyn 2 weeks ago with my 1916 Laureato. Great concert. That's okay. Thank you for trusting our company. And we got Armand in the box, which is always a pleasure. A good friend right here. What else is going on? Josh Tobister and Kevin C. saying anything above $1,000 is considered a luxury purchase for me right now. Guys, let's get that viewer count up to 300. Let's get that concurrent viewer count up to 300. So hopefully this video will do well over the next week. We've got Tawana Sharif joining in from Abu Dhabi, staying up super late, and we got James C. in the box. I'm glad to have both of you. So, one thing I hate about watch collectors is when they show me the never serviced watch. This burns me up. People, service and care for your watches. Do it routinely. And as you can see from this photo, water test every year. That was an original tritium dial, I'm sorry to say. It didn't survive the deluge. Guys, I've seen things. You'd be amazed how often people casually mention to me that their watches haven't been serviced in decades. And the surprising part is that they often do it with a hint of pride in their voice when they say this. Like it's some great achievement or virtue of their watch that it hasn't required any kind of watchmaker's attention. Well, you can run your watch into the ground, true, but I wouldn't encourage it. So, the watch in question is usually some kind of older Rolex or Omega that is as tough as a tank and has either some 3135 series movement or basic ETA. These things can continue to run long after they've stopped telling even reasonable time and into the stage where they're literally eating themselves alive from the inside. Gears are rounding out. You have lubricants that have turned to tar if they're old natural lubricants, that is animal derived, or fully evaporated if they're synthetic. You have all sorts of debris floating around inside the watch. The escapement is running absolutely bone dry. The aging lubricant is grinding endlessly in dry ruby cups. The mainspring has gouged the inside of the barrel and is running in grooves. The wheel posts are worn through, and you may even need a base plate replacement as a result. That's the heart and soul of your movement. Jewels are being warped out of shape by the pumice created as old lubricants and steel pivots round again and again and again without any kind of relief from the friction. Guys, this is the death of your watch, and it is definitely not a point of pride, and I see it all the time. Incredibly, most people with these decades untouched watches boast of never having given them any attention. In the same breath, many will remark that their watches are both unstoppable by the march of years and also horribly inaccurate. And I've had people tell me in the same conversation that various Rolex sports watches never need service but also keep bad time. And nobody is connecting these two things. The watch running forever without a watchmaker's attention is not going to keep good time. Guys, a Rolex sub or Day-Date or Daytona from 10, 20, or 30 years ago should be able to easily beat chronometer timing standards. So if it can't, and you haven't been to a watchmaker since the end of the first Gulf War, this is on you. Get that thing seen. Would you boast of going 40,000 miles between oil changes on your Mercedes-Benz or BMW? You know, much less a classic gullwing? I don't think so. If you've done that, you're never going to share it because it's discrediting. Watch collectors, car collectors, you understand you need to care for machines. That whole idea of this being a generational product that will span multiple lifetimes, that only works if you hold up your end and take care of the watch. And I'm always surprised by how many people think it's a mark of distinction that they've never opened the watch and it's still running day to day. And oftentimes mentioning in the same breath, again, that it's losing or gaining a tremendous amount of time. Guess what? If something breaks, it malfunctions. That's a red line. Okay. Wearing the same pair of underpants for a month, eating an entire pepperoni pizza by yourself, and passing 1/3 of a century without servicing your watch are not badges of honor. If you've done it, don't let anyone know. What else is going on here? Thomas Burnett saying hi to his fellow chatters. We got David H. joining in from Texas, and we're happy to have him. We got Tak Wong. I am unable to like your comment on my phone. That's okay. I appreciate you watching all the same. And then we have Jeff S. What about the guy who wears a watch on each wrist? I can see there are times when that's appropriate. When you're going to some sort of watch-themed event, sure. If one watch is a swatch and the other is a luxury watch, sure. If you need it because you're traveling domestically, usually I don't recommend traveling abroad with 2 true luxury watches, but if you're traveling and you've got one watch that's set to home time and one that's set to local time, I'm okay with that too, but the Kevin O'Leary double watch thing does not always work, especially if you're trying to make it part of a persona. It could be a little bit polarizing, so I recommend people not make a first impression that way. Only wear 2 watches around people who know you well, because it could be easily misinterpreted as some sort of braggadocio, you know what I mean? It's not always well received. Okay, let's see what's going on in the box. B-Spoon has made it. Michael Everywhere is late but in, and I'm happy for that. We got Edward Ledden. We have some talking time with Tim Mosso Facebook members who served in Desert Storm and probably the more recent Middle Eastern wars too. We got Jeff G, who's greeting from Fort Greely in Alaska, and we're happy to have him. We have We Are Venom, an old friend. We have Kevin C. I had a chance years ago to buy a used Seamaster 300-meter quartz for around $150, but I didn't have $150 at the time. Went back a couple of weeks later, it was gone. This was like over a decade ago. I've had that same non-buyer's remorse where I should have bought a watch and I didn't, and I later regretted it immensely for years on end. Guys, if you see those opportunities, sometimes you'll have less to regret by just buying the watch, gritting out the money in the short run. In the long run, the watch will make you forget the money. You never regret the money. If you've got it to spend and you don't have to borrow it and it's not on some sort of credit, go for it. Buyer's remorse is one thing, but if you really know what you like, you're less likely to have that than non-buyer's remorse. Okay, in the box. Abdul saying 1 pizza and 10 years without service, guilty as charged. Okay, look, I've eaten a pizza myself too, but then again, I was coming out of boot camp and it was not one of those like full-size New York pies. It was like one of those fast food pizzas that's half the size. So look, I had a good excuse. And we got Theo joining in from Geneva. Cull Obsidian asking, Tim, would you ever buy the Z Blue Milgauss you've talked about wanting? I don't know if Rolex is on brand for me. Maybe I like it, but there are other Rolex watches that might speak to me more, and those include the Cellini prints. So, undecided. But if I were to buy a Rolex, it would probably be something like the Z Blue. What else is going on here? Nicholas saying, someone should avoid service on a 5208 Patek until 2050. Let us all know how it goes. Well, I know how it'll go. It'll be a 5-figure check from your friends in Geneva. And the check will be to them, the bill will be to you. What else is going on? Important to note that a lot of people often get to that place where they don't service a watch because they misunderstand a valid comment from a watchmaker, where a watchmaker will tell them something along the lines of, if it's running well, don't worry about servicing it. But running well to a watchmaker means an annual water test and a measurement of amplitude and timing rate. Not is it literally spinning in circles on your wrist, because it will do that until it's ready to drop. No, go by the watchmaker's definition of running well. A lot of people hear, oh, well, running well, that's what my watchmaker told me, so I'll check back with them in 10 years. Okay, finally, what I hate most about watch collectors, and this happens too often, bringing politics into the watch hobby. This was back in 2016. We figured we'd be equal opportunity offenders, and people got the joke. But since then, we've shied away from any kind of political content. We had the Libertarian, the Republican, the Democrat, and then, as you could see off to the side, live appearances from the candidates themselves. This was back in the outlaw watch you want days, but today I wouldn't even go that far. And I recommend you also shy away from politics in your watch communities. And by this, I mean the literal world of politicians. Getting a Royal Oak jumbo allocation is, quote, a political undertaking. But it doesn't concern the leaders of anyone's country unless we're talking about Dubai or Brunei. No, politics at an AP boutique refers to how much money you've spent with them and how many bad unwanted dress watches you're going to buy to get that allocation. I'm not talking about that kind of politics. The kind you see on TV, not the kind you encounter in the AP boutique or the Langa store. This is the ultimate barrier to civility and a flashpoint with zero purpose in watch communities. Trust me, nothing good will come of this. And my politics will never be part of my broadcast persona or my 1916 company persona. People would probably be surprised if they knew, and it's heterodox. It's not party line, but you're gonna have to keep guessing because it will never be part of Tim the Watch Person. 90% of the time, politics kills civility in the watch community, online or offline. 90% of the time, this happens online though. And it happens online where a combination of anonymity and the tone-deaf nature of the medium give people the courage to be the worst version of themselves and far worse than they would be in real life. Also, as various types of left and right-wing politics become more and more international via the ever-present internet, it becomes easier and easier to find fights on multinational online platforms where the political leanings of participants used to be so foreign to each other from country to country that flashpoints were few and unlikely. That is no longer the case, as left and right in Europe, the United States, and Asia increasingly align with each other. It's much easier to pick fights with people, even when they have nothing else in common with you on these international forums. So please check the politics at the door before you click. Make a choice, and make a choice to be focused on fun stuff. And politics is a miserable business. Take it from a card-carrying political scientist. Not a good time. I also really think, and I had to really think and be careful, and make my case to my bosses that my Trump tourbillon analysis episode was 1, serious about the watch and only the watch, and 2, unserious about the politics. Now that's a good thing that I had it checked out by people who work above me and make the decisions, because that wound up being my most viewed show of the last year, and it got written up by CNN. But it was an in-earnest attempt to figure out where that watch came from and what its qualities as a piece of horology were. And again, played it straight down the middle, no problems. That's tough to do. And here's the reason. In my opinion, the show only worked because of the humanity that comes across when a human being's face, voice, pathos, ethos, and logos, all those good Greek things, are communicated. And that only happens in this format and this medium. And it worked because I took no position on any topic besides the watch, and I didn't trash it either. Because all of these humanizing qualities that come across when I speak to you, I mean, on most social media and web forums, they disappear, and that's a real problem. And because of that, I recommend that our online watch communities avoid politics, the left, the right, the ever, forever. So please, guys, pull your punches even when it's tempting. Even when someone says something that is clearly baiting or dumb or ignorant or offensive, do what I do when I'm out on my road bike and some guy in a pickup truck decides to tell me that I'm number 1 in his book with a single finger. Smile, blow a kiss, and move on. Trust me, that bothers them more than if I shouted some epithet. They hate that. That's what you have to do. Kill people with kindness and move on. In the real world and the watch world, it's always the best policy. I would also say that stay away from those off-topic politics and timeout forums, and we've all seen them on your favorite watch community sites, because those are quicksand, moral quicksand. Stay away from those off-topic forums because they always degenerate. In the words of the great political philosopher Lord Humongous, who ruled the wasteland, just walk away. Sage advice, Lord Humongous. We should all take it. Guys, viewers chats number 4, I asked you answered, starting with Brian R. and his Panerai PAM 61, circa 2000, that's a C series. He rolls with matte case and tobacco dial. Kingsley Y and his Grand Seiko SBGA 272, report from Casamila in Barcelona. Looking good. We got Jan Dreddy, a longtime friend and a collector conversation, out and about with his Breguet Pilot's chronograph, flyback style. Danny T posts a Rolex themed his and hers with engagement and wedding watches, and Robert V takes us home with his Honda S2000 and JLC Geophysic True Seconds. Guys, I will not be on next Monday because I will be out with our watch fair on the West Coast. But if you are on the West Coast, Newport Beach, this Friday and Saturday, I hope to see you at our 1916 location. And until then, time out.